He built an empire on fear. She vanished into silence. But 3 small faces at the airport shattered both their worlds in a single heartbeat. What happens when the most dangerous man in the underworld discovers he's a father? To triplets he never knew existed. When the woman who disappeared without a trace stands before him again, not alone but holding the hands of 3 boys who carry his eyes, his mark, his blood. She ran to protect them. He ruled to survive. Now, 6 years of secrets unravel in one frozen moment, and this time there's no running, no hiding, only the truth. And the 3 little heirs who will change everything. This is not just a love story. This is a reckoning. If you want to see how 3 little boys turn a crime lord into a father, and how love rewrites the rules of power, subscribe now because this story is just beginning. The airport hummed with the rhythm of 1,000 lives intersecting. Arrivals, departures, strangers passing strangers. But Min-jae didn't see any of it. He stood frozen. The world had stopped moving. Because across the terminal, beneath the cold fluorescent lights and surrounded by the chaos of rolling suitcases and hurried footsteps, stood the one woman he thought he'd never see again. Amara. 6 years. 6 years of silence. 6 years of unanswered questions that carved themselves into his bones. And now she was here. Real. Breathing. Alive. But she wasn't alone. 3 small boys clung to her hands. Identical. Impossibly identical. Their faces turned toward her as she whispered something soft, something he couldn't hear. They giggled. They moved in sync. And when one of them glanced up, just for a second, Min-jae's breath stopped altogether. Those eyes. Dark. Sharp. Penetrating. His eyes. The eldest, maybe by minutes, had a small birthmark just below his left ear. The same mark Min-jae's father had. The same mark Min-jae carried. The mark of the bloodline. The mark of legacy. Of power. Of the empire built in shadows. His pulse roared in his ears. The boys laughed, tugging at Amara's coat, and she smiled. But it was a fragile thing. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. A smile that trembled at the edges like glass about to shatter. She hadn't seen him yet. Min-jae's bodyguards flanked him silently, their presence a wall of controlled menace. One touched his earpiece, murmuring something low. But Min-jae raised a hand. Stay back. His voice was quiet, deadly quiet. The kind of quiet that made grown men obey without question. He moved. Each step across the terminal felt like wading through time itself. Through the 6 years she'd been gone. Through the nights he searched. Through the rage and the grief and the hollow ache of her absence. And now, this. Amara turned. Their eyes met. And the world detonated. Her face went white. Her lips parted. For one heartbeat, she looked like she might collapse. Like the ground had opened beneath her and swallowed her whole. The boys noticed. The middle one tugged her sleeve, his small voice bright and curious. Mama! Who's that man? Mama. The word hit him like a bullet. Min-jae stopped 3 feet away. Close enough to see the panic flicker in her eyes. Close enough to see the way her hands tightened protectively around the boys. Close enough to see the truth she'd been hiding. His voice came out rough. Raw. Amara. She flinched. He didn't. 6 years. She swallowed hard, her gaze darting to the boys, then back to him. Desperation bled into her expression. Min-jae, who are they? The question was a blade, sharp, unforgiving. She didn't answer. The smallest boy, the one with the softest features, peered up at Min-jae with wide, curious eyes. He tilted his head, studying him with the kind of innocence that didn't know what danger was, what power meant, what legacy carried. You're tall, the boy whispered. Min-jae's chest tightened. The eldest boy stepped forward, braver. His little chin lifted in a gesture Min-jae knew too well. The same defiance, the same pride, the same fire that ran in his veins. Are you a giant? Something cracked inside him. Amara's voice broke through, shaky and desperate. Boys, stay close. But it was too late. Min-jae crouched slowly, lowering himself to their height. The movement was deliberate, controlled. He looked at each of them, one by one, their faces, their eyes, the birthmark on the eldest's skin, his mark. His voice came out softer than it had in years. What are your names? The middle one answered first, grinning. I'm Eli. The smallest one whispered shyly. I'm Noah. The eldest met his gaze head-on, unflinching. Asher. Asher, Eli, Noah, 3 names, 3 boys, 3 pieces of a truth that shattered everything. Minjae rose slowly, his eyes locking onto Amara's. She looked terrified. Cornered, like a woman who'd been running for 6 years and had finally hit a wall. His voice dropped to something colder, something final. They're mine. It wasn't a question. Amara's lips trembled. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Minjae, please. You hid my sons. The words were quiet, lethal. She took a step back, pulling the boys with her, but there was nowhere to go. The terminal stretched endlessly behind her, but Minjae's presence was a cage, invisible, inescapable. You don't understand, she whispered. Then make me. She shook her head, her breath coming faster. I had to protect them. From what? From you. The silence that followed was deafening. Minjae stared at her, at the woman he'd loved, at the woman who'd disappeared, at the mother of his children, children he never knew existed. And for the first time in 6 years, he didn't know what to feel. Rage, grief, betrayal, love, all of it collided in his chest like a war with no victor. Behind him, his men waited. Silent, watchful. The airport moved around them, oblivious to the storm brewing in this single moment. But Minjae didn't move. He just looked at the 3 boys, his boys, and felt the empire he'd built on control begin to crumble, because they were looking back at him. And in their eyes, he saw something he'd forgotten existed. Hope. Amara's hands were shaking. She tried to hide it, gripping the boy's small fingers tighter, but Minjae saw everything. He always had. That was the problem. That was why she'd run. Mama, your hands are cold, Noah whispered, pressing closer to her leg. She forced a smile she didn't feel. I'm okay, sweetheart. But she wasn't, and Minjae knew it. He straightened fully now, his presence towering over them all. Not with aggression. No, Minjae didn't need aggression. His silence did the work. His stillness was more dangerous than any raised voice. Men feared him for what he didn't do as much as what he did. But right now, standing in this airport with 3 small boys staring up at him, he looked lost. We're leaving, Amara said suddenly, her voice stronger than she felt. This was a mistake. She turned, pulling the boys with her. Minjae moved, not fast, not violent, just there, blocking her path. His hand didn't touch her, but it didn't need to. His presence alone was a wall. You're not running again. You can't stop me. Can't I? The words were soft, almost gentle, but they carried the weight of 6 years, of power, of the kind of control that bent cities to his will. Amara's breath hitched. Asher tugged her coat, his little voice cutting through the tension. Mama, is he mad at you? She looked down at him, her heart breaking. No, baby. He's just confused. I'm not confused, Minjae said quietly. I know exactly what I'm looking at. His eyes dropped to the boys again. Asher, Eli, Noah. 3 versions of himself at 3 years old. 3 pieces of a life he never got to live. A life she'd stolen from him. Or saved them from. He didn't know anymore. Eli, the boldest of the 3, stepped forward. His small hand reached out, touching the edge of Minjae's coat. The fabric was expensive. Tailored. Dark. Everything about Minjae screamed wealth and danger. But Eli just smiled. You smell like my grandpa's office. Minjae's jaw tightened. Amara's father. The man who'd helped her disappear. The man who'd hidden his grandsons from the world. From him. Your grandfather, Minjae said slowly, knows about them? Amara's silence was answer enough. His expression darkened. Who else? Minjae. Who else? She flinched at the ice in his voice. Just my family. No one else, I swear. And me? His voice dropped to something dangerous. When were you planning to tell me I had sons? Never. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Minjae stared at her, really stared. And for a moment she saw something flicker in his eyes, something raw, something broken. You were going to let me die, never knowing they existed. It wasn't a question. Amara's throat burned. Tears blurred her vision, but she forced them back. I was protecting them. From their father? From your world. The truth hit like a slap. Min-jae's world. The Empire of Shadows. The underground kingdom built on fear and blood and power. The world where love was a weakness. Where children were leverage. Where enemies didn't hesitate. Where his own father had raised him with fists and cold commands. He looked at the boys again. Asher, Eli, Noah, innocent, bright. Untouched by the darkness he carried. And Amara had kept them that way. By leaving him. His chest tightened. You think I would have hurt them? Amara's voice cracked. I think your world would have. Silence. Min-jae's men shifted behind him, sensing the tension. One of them leaned in, murmuring low. Boss, we should move. Too many eyes. He was right. People were starting to notice. The tall man in the black coat. The woman with 3 identical boys. The standoff that felt too heavy for a public space. But Min-jae didn't move. He crouched again, this time slower. His eyes found Asher's. You're the oldest? Asher nodded, his little chest puffing with pride. By 2 whole minutes. A ghost of something, almost a smile, touched Min-jae's lips. 2 whole minutes. That's a lot. Asher grinned. Eli bounced on his toes. I'm the fastest. Noah, still shy, whispered. I'm the best at hiding. Min-jae's throat tightened. Hiding, he repeated softly. He stood again, his gaze locking onto Amara's. And when he spoke, his voice was different, quieter, almost vulnerable. I won't take them from you. Amara blinked, stunned. What? But you will not run again. Min-jae. They are my sons, and you will let me know them. It wasn't a request. It was a vow. Amara's breath shook. And if I say no? Min-jae stepped closer. Close enough that she could feel the heat of him. Close enough to see the pain he hid behind the ice. Then I will prove to you that the most dangerous thing in my world is losing them a second time. And in that moment, Amara realized the truth. He wasn't threatening her. He was begging. The car ride was silent, not the comfortable kind. The kind that pressed against your chest and made breathing feel like work. Amara sat in the back seat. The boys squeezed between her and Min-jae. His men drove. No one spoke. Even Eli, usually bursting with energy, stayed quiet, sensing something in the air he couldn't name. Min-jae hadn't forced her. He'd simply looked at her and said, We talk. Somewhere private. And she'd agreed, because what choice did she have? The car pulled up to a building she recognized. Sleek, modern, expensive. One of Min-jae's properties. Not his main residence, too public, but safe, secure, controlled. Everything he was. They stepped inside. The boy's eyes went wide. Whoa, Asher breathed. It's like a castle, Eli added. Noah just clung to Amara's hand, his small voice uncertain. Are we staying here? Min-jae glanced down at him. For tonight. Amara's head snapped toward him. Min-jae, it's late, they're tired, and we have a lot to discuss. His tone left no room for argument. One of his men, silent, efficient, stepped forward. I'll prepare rooms. Min-jae nodded, then looked at Amara. The boys can rest. You and I will talk. Her heart pounded, but she nodded. 30 minutes later, the boys were settled in a guest room. 3 small beds, soft blankets, a television playing cartoons. Asher was already half asleep. Eli fought it, his eyes drooping. Noah had curled into Amara's side, his small hand gripping her shirt. Mama, are you coming back? He whispered. She kissed his forehead. I'm right down the hall, baby, I promise. Is the tall man nice? She paused. He's trying to be. Noah seemed satisfied with that. His eyes fluttered closed. Amara slipped out quietly, closing the door behind her, and found Min-jae waiting. He stood by the window of the adjoining sitting room, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city lights. He didn't turn when she entered, didn't speak. She did. You can't just take over like this. I didn't take over. You chose to come. Because you didn't give me a choice. Now he turned. His eyes were darker in the low light, shadowed, dangerous. I gave you 6 years of choices, Amara, and you chose to lie. She flinched. I chose to survive. By erasing me? By protecting them? Her voice cracked. She hated how her hands shook, how her breath came too fast. Min-jae stepped closer. From what? Tell me. Make me understand why I didn't deserve to know I had sons. Because your world destroys everything it touches. The words exploded out of her. Because you're the Korean crime lord, Min-jae. Because people fear you. Because enemies would have used them. Because I didn't want my boys growing up thinking power and fear are all that matter. Silence. Min-jae didn't move. Didn't blink. You think that's all I am? I know what you are. Do you? He closed the distance between them in 2 steps. Not touching her, but close. Too close. I built an empire, Amara. I made myself untouchable so no one could ever hurt me again. So I'd never be weak. So I'd never lose. His voice dropped. And then you left. And I lost anyway. Her breath hitched. Min-jae, you were the only thing I ever let close. The only person I trusted. And you disappeared like I meant nothing. You meant everything, she whispered. Then why did you run? Because I was pregnant. And terrified. And I knew. Her voice broke. I knew if you found out, you'd never let me go. You'd pull them into your world. And I couldn't. I couldn't let that happen. Min-jae stared at her. And for the first time she saw the man beneath the crime lord. The boy who'd been raised in violence. The son who'd never been held gently. I would have protected them, he said quietly. I know. But protection isn't love, Min-jae. And I wanted them to have both. He looked away. And now? Now. She exhaled shakily. Now I don't know. I won't let you run again. I know. I want to know them. I know. I want... He stopped. His jaw clenched. Amara waited. I want to be their father. The vulnerability in those words nearly broke her. You are, she whispered. You always have been. They just didn't know it. Then let me prove it. How? He turned to her fully now, and when he spoke, his voice was raw. Let me try. Let me be more than what you fear. Let me show them, and you, that I can be different. Amara's eyes burned with tears. And if you can't, then you'll know I tried. The honesty in his voice shattered her. She looked at him, really looked at him, the man she'd loved, the man she'd feared, the father of her children. And she made a choice. Okay. Min-jae's eyes widened slightly. Okay? But you don't own us. You don't control us. This is partnership. Or nothing. He nodded slowly. Partnership. For the first time in 6 years, something fragile bloomed between them. Not trust, not yet, but hope. And in the room down the hall, 3 small boys slept, unaware that their world had just changed forever. Morning light filtered through the penthouse windows like silk. Min-jae hadn't slept. He'd spent the night in his study staring at his phone. At the background image he'd never changed, a photo of Amara from 7 years ago, laughing at something he'd said, young, unafraid, before everything shattered. Before. Now, in the quiet hours before dawn, he stood outside the guest room door, listening. The soft sounds of children breathing, the rustle of blankets, the small sigh of a boy dreaming, his sons. The words still felt foreign, sharp, like something he didn't deserve to claim. He'd built an empire on decisiveness, on knowing exactly what to do in any situation, how to read an enemy, how to strike before being struck, how to win. But this? 3 small boys sleeping behind a door? He had no strategy for this. The door opened. Amara stood there, her hair loose around her shoulders, wearing one of the oversized shirts his staff had provided. She looked tired, wary, but softer in the morning light. You're still awake, she said quietly. I don't sleep much. I remember. The words hung between them, a reminder of nights they'd shared, of the way she used to trace the tension from his shoulders, of how she'd been the only one who could make the world quiet. She stepped into the hallway, closing the door softly behind her. They'll wake up soon. Eli's always first. He's energetic. Like you. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Like both of us, actually. Min-jae's chest tightened. What are they like? Really? Amara leaned against the wall, her eyes distant. Asher is serious, thoughtful. He watches everything, takes everything in. He's protective of his brothers, always has been, even when they were babies. He has my father's mark. I know. Did you? Did you think about me when you looked at it? Amara's breath caught. Every day. The honesty nearly broke him. And the others? Eli is pure joy. He doesn't know fear. Everything is an adventure. He makes friends everywhere we go. He's the heart of the three of them. And Noah? Amara's expression softened impossibly. Noah is gentle, sensitive. He feels everything so deeply. He loves books and quiet and being close. He's the one who asks the hard questions, who notices when I'm sad. Like you, Minjae said quietly. Like both of us, she repeated. Silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with everything unsaid. I want to take them somewhere today, Minjae said suddenly. Amara tensed. Where? Somewhere normal, the park, breakfast, whatever kids do. Minjae, you can't just, I know. He met her eyes. That's why I'm asking, not telling. She studied him, looking for the control, the dominance, the crime lord who bent the world to his will, but all she saw was a man trying. Okay, she said softly, but we go together. All of us. Together, he agreed. Behind the door, a small voice called out, Mama! Eli. Amara smiled despite herself. That's our alarm clock. She opened the door, and Minjae followed, stepping into a world he'd never known. Breakfast was chaos. The kind of beautiful, messy chaos Minjae had never experienced. Eli spilled orange juice twice. Noah wanted his toast cut into triangles, not squares. Asher asked 14 questions about why the sky was blue, and if clouds had names and whether superheroes were real. Amara navigated it all with practiced ease, wiping spills, answering questions, cutting toast, pouring more juice. Minjae just watched. You're not eating, Asher observed, his sharp eyes missing nothing. I'm not hungry. Mama says you have to eat breakfast or your brain doesn't work right. Amara choked on her coffee. Minjae's lips twitched, almost a smile. Your mama is very wise. I know, Asher said matter-of-factly. Eli bounced in his chair. Can we go to the park? Please? Please, please, please? We'll see, Amara started. Yes, Minjae said. 3 pairs of eyes locked onto him. Really? Noah whispered. Really? Eli exploded with joy, nearly knocking over his plate. Asher grinned. Noah's whole face lit up. Amara stared at Minjae. And in that moment, she saw something she'd never expected. He looked happy. The park was different through their eyes. Minjae had passed this place 1,000 times, never once noticed it. It was just another piece of the city, background noise in the empire he'd built. But now it was the place where Asher climbed too high on the jungle gym and refused to come down until Minjae promised to catch him. The place where Eli raced strangers to the swings and won every time, laughing so hard he could barely breathe. The place where Noah collected leaves and stones and brought each one to Minjae like treasure. This one's smooth, Noah said, pressing a river rock into Minjae's palm. It is, Minjae agreed. You can keep it. For good luck. Minjae looked down at the small stone, at the boy who'd given it to him, at the trust in those wide eyes. Thank you, he said quietly. Noah beamed. Across the playground, Amara sat on a bench, watching. Her heart felt too full. Too fragile. This wasn't supposed to happen. She'd protected them for 6 years. Kept them safe. Kept them hidden. And now, watching Minjae crouch down to Eli's level to tie his shoe, watching him lift Asher off the jungle gym with careful hands, watching Noah lean against his side like it was the most natural thing in the world, she realized something terrifying. The boys didn't just look like him, they loved him already. And worse, she could feel herself falling again, too. Mama! Asher called. Come play. She stood, forcing a smile. But Minjae caught her expression, read it instantly. Later, when the boys were distracted, he moved beside her. You're afraid. It wasn't a question. Of course I am. Of me? Of this? Of them getting hurt? Of me, he repeated. Amara looked at him. You're not the man I left, Minjae. But you're not different either. You're still the crime lord. You still live in that world. And eventually, that world will come for them. Then I'll destroy it first. The certainty in his voice sent chills down her spine. You can't. Watch me. Minjae? I spent 6 years building power so I'd never be weak again, so no one could touch me. But you were right. I became what I feared. I became the thing that destroys. He turned to her fully. But them? They don't see the crime lord, They see someone who ties shoes and catches them when they jump. And I will burn every part of my empire to ash before I let my world take that from them. Amara's breath shook. You mean that? Every word. And if you can't? If your enemies come for them anyway? Min-jae's eyes went cold. Not at her, at the thought itself. Then they'll learn why people fear me. It should have terrified her. Instead, for the first time in 6 years, she felt safe. That night, back at the penthouse, the boys fell asleep on the couch, tangled together like puppies, exhausted from the day. Amara covered them with a blanket, her heart aching. Min-jae stood in the doorway, watching. They're beautiful, he said quietly. They are. Like you. She looked up, startled. He stepped closer. I missed 6 years, Amara. 6 years of this, of them, of us. There is no us, Min-jae. There hasn't been for a long time. Hasn't there? He was close now. Too close. She could feel the heat of him, the pull she'd spent 6 years fighting. Don't, she whispered. Don't what? Make me hope. His hand lifted, slowly, carefully, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. The touch was feather-light. Reverent. I don't know how to be soft. I don't know how to be safe. But for them, for you, I'll learn. And if you can't, then I'll fail trying. But I won't stop trying. Amara's eyes burned. You're asking for something I can't give. I'm asking for a chance. That's all. She looked at the boys, at the life she'd built without him, at the life they could have with him, and she made a choice. One chance, Min-jae, one. And the second you put them in danger, the second your world touches them, I disappear, and you'll never find us again. He nodded slowly. One chance. And in the silence that followed, something impossible bloomed. Not love, not yet. But the fragile, terrifying beginning of it. But in the shadows outside, a car idled. Eyes watched the penthouse. And a voice spoke into a phone. Confirmed. The crime lord has 3 sons. Unknown until now. Good. That changes everything. Orders? Watch. Wait. And when the time is right, take them. The line went dead, and the war Min-jae didn't know was coming began to move. The call came at 3 a.m. Min-jae's phone lit up the darkness. One of his lieutenants, voice tight with urgency. We have a problem. Min-jae was out of bed instantly, already moving. Talk. Someone's asking questions. About the woman, about the kids. His blood went cold. Who? We don't know yet, but the word is spreading. Your enemies know. Min-jae's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Lock it down. Now. I want every source traced, every leak plugged, and I want names. Already on it. But boss. The lieutenant hesitated. If they know about the kids, they'll move fast. Then, we move faster. He ended the call. For a long moment, he stood in the darkness of his room, fists clenched, mind racing. This was what Amara had feared. This was why she'd run. Because in his world, love wasn't a gift. It was a weapon. And now his enemies had found the sharpest blade they could ever use against him. 3 small boys who didn't know what danger meant. He had to protect them, even if it meant pushing Amara away. Even if it meant breaking the fragile trust they'd just begun to build. Morning came too quickly. Amara woke to find Min-jae already dressed. Dark suit, cold expression, the crime lord fully back in place. The warmth from yesterday was gone. We need to talk, he said. Her stomach dropped. What happened? My enemies know about the boys. The world tilted. What? Someone's been watching, asking questions. It's only a matter of time before they move. Amara's hands shook. I told you. I told you this would happen. And I'm handling it. How? By putting them in more danger? By moving you, all of you, somewhere safe, somewhere no one can touch. Where? A private estate outside the city, 24-hour security. My best men. A prison, you mean? Min-jae's eyes flashed. A safe house. For how long? As long as it takes. And what happens when it's not enough? When your enemies find us anyway? They won't. You can't promise that. Her voice rose, and down the hall one of the boys stirred. Min-jae lowered his voice, but the steel remained. I can promise that I will do everything in my power to keep them safe. Even if you hate me for it. I don't hate you, Minjai. I hate this. I hate that I was right. I hate that loving you means they're in danger. The words hit him like a physical blow. Loving me? Amara froze. She hadn't meant to say it, but now it was out there, hanging between them, raw and true and terrifying. Amara, forget it. I can't. He stepped closer, and for a moment, the crime lord vanished. The man beneath, the one who'd held her in the darkness, who'd whispered her name like a prayer, looked back at her. Do you? Still? She wanted to lie, wanted to protect herself, but she'd never been good at lying to him. It doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. No, keeping them safe matters. And we both know the best way to do that is for me to take them and disappear again. I won't let you. You don't have a choice. Don't I? The challenge in his voice made her heart race. Minjay, please, don't make this harder than it already is. You think I'm making this hard? His voice dropped. You think I want to move you to a safe house? To put armed guards around my sons? To live knowing that every second they exist, someone out there wants to use them against me? Then let us go. I can't. Why? Because I just found you. The words tore out of him. I spent 6 years not knowing if you were alive. 6 years searching. 6 years empty. And now I have you back, all of you. And you want me to just let go? For them, yes. No. Minjay, I will find another way. There is no other way, not in your world. Then I'll change my world. She stared at him. You can't. Watch me. Before she could respond, small footsteps padded into the room. Asher stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Why are you yelling? Both adults froze. Amara forced a smile, her voice gentle. We're not yelling, sweetheart. Just talking. Asher didn't look convinced. His sharp eyes moved between them. Are you mad at each other? Minjay crouched down to his level. No. We're just trying to figure some things out. Grown-up things? Yes. Asher studied him with an intensity that was unnerving. Are you going away? The question pierced Minjay's chest. No, I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Minjay hesitated. He'd learned long ago never to make promises he couldn't keep. But looking at his son, he broke his own rule. I promise. Asher nodded, satisfied. He climbed onto the couch, pulling a blanket around himself. Okay, I'm gonna watch cartoons. Just like that, the moment passed for him, but not for the adults. Amara's eyes met Minjay's. You shouldn't make promises you can't keep. I don't plan to break it. And when your enemies come for them, they'll have to go through me first. That's what I'm afraid of. By noon, the decision was made. Minjay's security team had swept the estate. Protocols were in place. The move would happen tonight. Amara packed mechanically, her mind numb. This was it, the beginning of the end. The slow descent into the world she'd run from. The boys didn't understand. They thought it was an adventure, a big house in the country, space to run and play. They didn't know they were being hidden. Minjay appeared in the doorway. It's time. She nodded, unable to speak. He watched her for a moment, then crossed the room. His hand touched her shoulder, gentle, careful. I know what you're thinking. Do you? You're thinking this is the beginning of losing them. She looked up, tears blurring her vision. Isn't it? No, it's the beginning of fighting for them. Together. We're not together, Minjay. Aren't we? His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing away a tear. You're the mother of my children, the woman I never stopped loving, the only person who ever made me believe I could be more than what I was raised to be. Minjay. I don't know how to do this, any of this, but I know I can't do it without you. You're asking too much. I'm asking for everything. Because you and those boys, you are everything. She wanted to pull away, to protect herself. But she couldn't, because he was right. This was everything. If we do this, if I stay, you have to promise me something. Anything. You put them first, always, before your empire, before your enemies, before us. Done. I'm serious, Minjay. So am I. He leaned closer, his forehead resting against hers. They come first. Always. I swear it. And for the first time since the airport, Amara let herself hope. The estate was beautiful, isolated, secure, surrounded by forest and guarded by men who moved like the boys loved it immediately. But Amara felt the cage closing. That night, after the boys were asleep, she stood on the balcony, staring at the dark trees. Min-jae found her there. Can't sleep? Too much to think about. He stood beside her, silent for a moment. I meant what I said. About changing my world. How? I'm stepping back. Handing operations to my lieutenants. Focusing on legitimate business. She turned to him, shocked. You're serious. I have to be. For them. Your enemies won't just let you walk away. Then I'll make them. How? His eyes went cold. By being scarier than they are. And in that moment, Amara understood. He wasn't leaving his world. He was reshaping it. For them. Min-jae. He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her. I don't know if I can be what you need, but I'll die trying. She didn't answer, just held on. Because in the darkness, with danger circling, all they had was each other. And 3 small boys who deserved better than fear. 3 months passed. The estate became home. Not in the way Amara had imagined. Not a cage, but something stranger. Something almost like peace. Min-jae kept his word. He stepped back from the front lines of his empire. Delegated. Restructured. Turned his focus to legitimate ventures. Investments, real estate, technology. The underground dealings continued, but at a distance. Through intermediaries, through layers of separation. And every day he came home to them. To Asher teaching himself chess from a book Min-jae had bought him. To Eli building elaborate fortresses out of couch cushions and demanding Min-jae play the bad guy who never quite won. To Noah curling up beside him every evening, asking him to read bedtime stories in a voice that grew softer each time. Amara watched it all with a heart that felt too full and too fragile at once. Because she was falling. Again. Harder this time. For the father Min-jae was becoming. For the way he listened when Asher explained the rules of chess with intense seriousness. For the way he let Eli defeat him dramatically, complete with exaggerated falls. For the way he held Noah during thunderstorms, whispering promises that the storm would pass. He was trying, and it was breaking down every wall she'd built. One evening after the boys were asleep, Amara found Min-jae in his study. Papers spread across his desk, financial reports, legal documents, the machinery of an empire being transformed. You're still working, she said softly. He looked up, something shifting in his expression. Trying to. Not getting far. Why? Too distracted. By what? You. The word hung in the air between them. Amara's breath caught. Min-jae. He stood, moving around the desk with that controlled grace that had always undone her. Do you know what these 3 months have been like for me? Tell me. Torture. Beautiful. Perfect torture. He stopped in front of her. Having you here. Seeing you every day. Watching you with our sons. Remembering what we were. Knowing what we could be. We can't we? It's complicated. It's simple. Nothing about us has ever been simple. Then let me make it simple. He cupped her face, his touch achingly gentle. I love you. I never stopped. And I don't want to do this, any of this, without you. Not as partners, as us. Tears welled in her eyes. You hurt me, Min-jae. When you chose your empire over me 7 years ago, when you let me go because being with me made you weak. I was a fool. You were. And I've paid for it every day since. His thumb brushed her cheek. But I'm not that man anymore. They changed me. You changed me. And I don't want to be the crime lord who has everything except what matters. I want to be the man who comes home, who kisses you goodnight, who builds a life instead of an empire. And if your past comes for us, then I'll face it, but not alone. Together. Together, she whispered. Say you'll try. Say you'll give us a chance. She looked at him. Really looked. At the vulnerability in his eyes, at the man who'd once been untouchable learning to be soft. I'm already trying. I've been trying since the park. Then try with me. All the way. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her lips. Let me love you the way I should have 7 years ago. And she broke. Her lips met his and the world disappeared. It wasn't gentle. It was 6 years of longing and grief and hope colliding all at once. His hands tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his shirt. They kissed like drowning people finding air. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, Minjae rested his forehead against hers. "I missed you," he whispered. "I never left." "Not really." "I know, you were in every heartbeat." She laughed through tears. "You're becoming poetic." "Noah's been teaching me. Apparently dragons need feelings too." She laughed harder, and he smiled. A real smile, warm and unguarded. "I like hearing you laugh. I like laughing again." They stood there, wrapped in each other, in the quiet of his study. And for the first time in 6 years, Amara let herself believe. Maybe they could do this. Maybe love was enough. But outside, in the darkness beyond the estate, trouble stirred. A meeting in a warehouse, shadowed figures around a table. He's gotten soft. The crime lord has a weakness now. The woman and the brats? Exactly. What's the play? We hit him where it hurts. Take the kids. Use them as leverage. Force him to his knees. And then we take his empire. And we make sure he never gets up again. When? Soon. Very soon. The next morning, Minjae woke to chaos. Not danger, just life. Eli had spilled an entire box of cereal trying to pour it himself. Asher was arguing with Noah about whose turn it was to pick the cartoon. Amara was half asleep in a kitchen chair, coffee in hand, trying to mediate. Minjae stepped into the kitchen and 3 boys turned to him instantly. "Dad!" Eli shouted. "Tell Asher it's my turn." Minjae froze. "Dad, not the tall man. Not his name. Dad." Amara's eyes met his, wide and uncertain. Asher noticed immediately. "What?" "You are our dad. We decided," Noah added quietly. "Is that okay?" Minjae's throat tightened. He crouched down, eye level with all 3. "It's more than okay. It's everything." Eli grinned and tackled him. Noah followed. Asher tried to stay composed but failed, wrapping his arms around Minjae's neck. And in that moment, covered in children, cereal crunching underfoot, Amara watching with tears in her eyes, Minjae understood something he'd never known before. This was power, not fear, not control, not empires built on blood. This, family, love, home. That afternoon, Minjae made a call to his most trusted lieutenant. "I need you to send a message to everyone who's ever been my enemy." "What's the message?" "That the game has changed, that I'm no longer playing by the old rules, that if anyone comes for my family, I will dismantle their entire existence, slowly, personally, and permanently." "Boss, that's going to make some people nervous." "Good. Nervous people make mistakes, and I want them afraid." "Understood. Anything else?" "Yes. Start the transition. I want out of the underground business entirely within 6 months. Clean, legal, no loose ends." A pause. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious about anything in my life. This is because of the woman and the kids. This is because I finally understand what I should have known a long time ago. Power means nothing if you have no one to share it with." The lieutenant was quiet for a moment. "For what it's worth, boss, I think you're making the right call." "Then help me make it happen. Always." Minjae ended the call and looked out the window. At the garden where Asher was teaching Eli how to plant seeds. At the porch where Noah sat with a book, his small legs swinging. At Amara standing in the doorway, watching them all with a soft smile. His family, his empire now, and he would defend it with everything he had. That night, Amara found him on the balcony again. She wrapped her arms around him from behind, her head resting against his back. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything. Nothing." "That's not an answer." He turned, pulling her close. "I'm thinking about how 6 months ago I was alone. And now I have everything. You're not alone anymore. Neither are you." She looked up at him. "Are we really doing this? Building a life together? If you'll let me." "What if it's not enough? What if—" He kissed her, soft, deep, certain. When he pulled back, his eyes held hers. "Then we'll fail together. But I don't think we will, because I've spent my whole life building things that last. And you, Amara? You and our boys? You're the only thing I've ever built that actually matters." Tears slid down her cheeks. "I love you. I tried not to. For 6 years I tried. But I never stopped. I know, because I never stopped either. So what now? Now we live. We raise our sons. We build something real. And we don't look back. Just forward? just forward. She kissed him again, and in that kiss was everything. Forgiveness, hope, love, future. And in the house behind them, 3 small boys slept peacefully, unaware that their parents had just chosen them over everything, unaware that their father, the most feared man in the city, had just become the most devoted, unaware that love had won. 6 months later, the estate had changed. No more guards patrolling every corner, no more locked gates, no more fear. Min-jae had kept his word. He'd walked away from the underground, legitimized everything, built a new empire, one based on innovation, not intimidation. And his enemies? They'd learned not to test him. Because the few who'd tried had disappeared. Not violently, but completely. Their operations dismantled. Their power erased. A message delivered without a single drop of blood. Min-jae had proven he didn't need to be brutal to be feared. He just needed to be strategic. And now, standing in the garden watching Asher, Eli, and Noah chase butterflies, he felt something he'd never expected. Peace. Amara appeared beside him, her hand slipping into his. They're happy. They are. So am I. He looked at her, his thumb brushing over her ring finger, where a simple band now rested. They'd married quietly. Just the 5 of them and an officiant. No grand ceremony, no spectacle, just vows. Just love. So am I, he said. Eli noticed them and ran over, breathless. Dad, watch this. He did a cartwheel, sloppy and enthusiastic, and landed in a heap. Min-jae clapped. Impressive. I'm gonna be in the circus. Or an acrobat, Amara suggested. Or a superhero, Noah added. Asher rolled his eyes. You can't be a superhero, Eli. They're not real. They could be. Min-jae crouched down. You know what? You can be whatever you want, all of you. That's the point. 3 faces looked up at him. Really? Noah whispered. Really? Even a dragon tamer? Eli asked. Especially a dragon tamer. Asher grinned. What about you, Dad? What do you want to be? Min-jae looked at Amara, at his sons, at the life they'd built together. I already am what I want to be. What's that? Yours. Amara's eyes filled with tears. And as the sun set over their home, their real home, the crime lord who'd once ruled through fear became something far more powerful. A father. A husband. A man who chose love over empire. And won.